Let's talk about whether or not you should intervene in a fight, and more specifically, this situation. Now, before we talk about this guy and what I think of him intervening, let's just talk about intervening in fights as a whole. I think it's risky, I think it's stupid, and I don't think you should do it. Maybe if it's a child, and I don't mean child versus child, let them figure that shit out. We've all gotten in fights as kids. I mean, if an adult is clearly just beating the piss out of a kid, that might be the point where I draw the line and I step in. But other than that, I'm gonna keep myself safe. I'm gonna mind my own business, especially considering the fact that it has absolutely nothing to do with me. So why should I intervene and put myself at risk and my loved ones potentially at risk? I'm gonna keep myself safe. Now, there's a lot of variables for why I come to that decision. Number one, I need to be able to distinguish clearly who is in the right and who's in the wrong. And if you just happen to stumble upon, say, this situation where a man is just beating the piss out of a woman, most would assume that the woman is the victim and the man is the perpetrator. But what happens if it was the other way around? What if this woman in this video had gone after this man with a weapon of some sort and he was just simply retaliating? Maybe she had some sort of mental disability, maybe she was under the influence of something, and she just decided to start attacking him, and he's just simply retaliating. We don't know the full circumstances, but based off of just what you're seeing, people are going to jump to conclusions and start attacking the male. Well, we've also had situations and scenarios where that is the case, and people jump in and start helping the female, only to have the female then turn on them and start attacking them as well. Again, making yourself a victim. If it's a domestic situation, that also adds a whole nother level to the mess, because again, there's a good chance that as you intervene, the other partner in the situation is actually going to jump in and start attacking you as well. Again, domestic situations in particular get very tricky when it comes to fight intervention. Now, obviously, there are legality issues when it comes to intervening in a fight. Believe it or not, you're not always going to be protected for being a good Samaritan. So you have to make sure that you are within the legal limits to jump in, intervene, because again, if I'm causing harm to another human being, someone's going to get pissed off in some way, shape, or form. That's going to end up in court. So really make sure that you are checking all your local laws so that you know exactly what to do when it comes to self-defense, both for just protecting yourself as a whole, but also if you do decide to, say, intervene and be a quote-unquote hero or just good Samaritan. The other thing is there's too many unknown variables. Again, as we mentioned, we don't know who the good or bad person is. We can't for sure say whether or not weapons are involved. Even if you don't visually see one, doesn't mean that there's not one concealed. And again, if there is, and you jump in and that weapon gets pulled out, you better know how to deal with it. We also have to make sure that there are no friends nearby that would potentially jump in to not help you, but again, look at you as like, oh, this person's fighting us, we got to jump in and help our buddy. And now you went from breaking up a fight to now being in a fight with multiple attackers. Again, not a good position to be in. If I was walking down the sidewalk and I saw the situation, I might just be a good witness. But if I'm driving by, like, there's no way I'm probably stopping my car and putting myself at risk. Like, if I'm slowly going by, sure. But other than that, I'm going to keep on driving. The best thing that you can do, in my opinion, when it comes to intervening in fights is be a good witness. Report it to the police, document pictures, videos, whatever you can, so that, again, you can be a good witness and hopefully they can figure all that shit out on their own. Now, the other thing people tend to forget when it comes to intervening in fights is you have to know how to fight yourself. Being a big person, being a strong person isn't necessarily going to get you that far if the other people have any sort of fighting experience. If you have no idea what to do in a fight perspective, you definitely should not be intervening. This guy clearly has experience. He is a Jiu Jitsu practitioner. I believe from what I've read online, he's about a purple belt rank. So he's got enough grappling experience to know how to handle another man, right? And he doesn't do a terrible job. He gets in there right away. He has a nice transition to get to the guy's back. It's a great place to be in a fight. He takes the guy down to the ground. We're going to talk about his takedowns in a second. But then once he gets to the ground, he gets to a back mount. They fall off camera a little bit. I'm assuming that some strikes were thrown, potentially a choke was put in to just subdue and stop the guy from fighting back, to the point where the practitioner felt comfortable enough to get up and walk back to his car, knowing that this guy is not going to come back after him and hopefully not back after the woman either. Now, the big part I want to talk about with this guy's intervening is his takedowns. I'm going to take you out on the mat here in a minute and show you what I feel he should have done when it comes to takedowns, because let's be honest, if you're a purple belt in Jiu-Jitsu, you should have somewhat of a good stand-up unless you're just a guard puller. But there are some takedowns that are great to use that you can use in sport, but that are also really great in self-defense, because it allows you to maintain control the entire way down to the ground, and it's not as unpredictable as just grabbing somebody's waist and just spinning around in circles until we fall. The last thing I'll touch upon is the use of the camera in this situation. A lot of people felt it was staged online. It wasn't. He was setting up the camera to protect himself from a legal standpoint, because again, he is intervening in a fight that had nothing to do with him, and there was a chance that he was going to harm somebody else, because clearly he was going hands-on, but also in case something happened to him, it would be documented. So he did a nice thing by setting up the camera first to protect himself. But overall, in my opinion, should you intervene in a fight? Absolutely not. It's too risky. I get wanting to be a hero and a good Samaritan. It's too risky for me. I'm sorry. I'm going to protect myself and my loved ones and just keep myself out of it. Again, be a good witness at the end of the day. But nonetheless, let me take you out on the mat and show you a few takedowns that I think he could have had a little bit more success with in this situation. So when you get to the back in this situation, I would not, like the guy gets to the front. I'm not even going to go over takedowns from the front because he does a really nice job of just working off to the back right away, which if we're talking takedowns for self-defense, the back or like right on the hip is probably the best way to take somebody down, because if at any point I'm losing control or whatever the case is, I can always disengage safely. If I need to draw a weapon, I'm safely able to do so, but he has to kind of play that Where's Waldo game and try and figure out where I went, right? So taking somebody down from the back is always gonna be a good option. I don't recommend the ring around the rosy method, right? I think that only works because the guy was kind of caught off guard, had no fighting experience, and lost his balance, right? But it's a crapshoot. So I wanna make sure I have a guaranteed way to do it. So we'll just show you a couple options that I like to utilize. The first one is gonna kind of just be like, sit on my thigh, right? It's probably one of the safest takedowns that you can have for self-defense. And the way that I set this one up is once I get to somebody's back, I don't want to just switch my stance like this, right? Because they're most likely standing straight up, and this is going to be difficult for me to try and pull them back. So instead, what I'll do is when I get to the back, I'm just going to kind of drive into them a little bit, and you're going to see that they start to base out and try and push back into me. The moment I feel that pressure, now I'm going to switch. So my foot is, again, knee over my ankle, right? I'm not trying to extend my leg like this, but I'm right in between his legs. And all I'm essentially doing at this point is now pulling his hips over that leg. And right away I'm in control. And again, the reason I like this takedown is one, it's minimal risk to me, but two, I'm in a good spot that I can maintain control on the ground, and right away, I can look to split the hips, I can hip it, and I can kind of go into this head quarters position where I have them locked down, and I can look to immediately kind of pass and recover from there. Now, one option that you have with this, if this isn't working, right? I drive in, I get here, he's just really resisting and trying to stand up, well, I'm gonna take the same leg and just do a quick little kickback, right? Pull's not working, kick back, same thing, I hit pressure in, and we go from there. The other one that I'll have is a bit more of a mat return. Two reasons I like this one: either guaranteed to get something to happen, you're gonna get a reaction of some sort. The best option is that when I get in here and I hip up, we're going all the way down to the ground. That's your best option. At the bare minimal, if I do it right, he might just kind of post, but nonetheless, this is not a good position for him to be in. And then from here, it's really easy for me to just kind of continue driving them down. So even if I don't get the full return right out of the gate, it is still a nice takedown. Then again, I have a secondary option with it. Now the way that I'll set this up, if we go to the back, I'm gonna step, not super staggered, right? Just a little bit, but I'm gonna hip into his leg. And I'm loading myself up, hipping in, picking him up, and just bringing him straight down. If I stay behind him, one option that I'll do if I'm staying straight behind instead of stepping off to the side is I'm gonna kind of kick out this leg. So as soon as I pick him up, I'll sweep the leg, And again, I'm gonna either get him to come all the way down or they're gonna kind of start reaching and posting. Either way works for me. I can get into this position. And then again, if he's posting like this, I can start driving his arms down. I can start clearing his arms out. I can work to all these different control points. And again, if we're just talking like I just need to hold this person down, like I can do that very easy from here. If I need to apply damage, I can do so. And again, we can pop back up to our feet just as easily. Now, the only other option that I'll kind of show from here is a body lock, not from the back. You can do it from the front when the guy gets in here. You know, if he's grabbing up high, I can always switch the grip low and just kind of body lock and literally just pressure into the person. But let's say we start getting to the side, or even if we were from the back, right? If he's starting to fight these hands, I can trap the inside, I can trap the wrist, I can step through and shift my body off to the side, and now I just suck this arm in nice and tight, lock out his whole body from here, and just start pressuring straight down, right? Or, I can still apply this pressure, only this time I'm gonna start working backwards, and that's kind of like the ring around the rosy motion that's okay, because of the fact that I have him body locked, that the more I turn, it's essentially just locking out his spine. But again, we land in a controlled spot, and that's the key for me. If I'm taking you down on the ground, I have to do it in a manner that allows me to immediately get top pressure of some sort. I don't want to land and all of a sudden we're in a fucking scramble and now I have to like play jiu-jitsu in the street. It's not what I'm looking to do.